fine. What time is it where you are?
4 p.m. right now.
Oh,
So in
God,
Germany, I'm based
it's
in
10
Germany.
a.m. here. I was like, I hope you're not in New York.
No, all good. We could even do so later for some next webinars. I've done sessions with US people at like 1 a.m. my time. So
That's
I'm,
crazy.
I'm used to some late night sessions.
Oh my gosh. Awesome. I figured we could wait like another minute or so for everybody to kind of pile in and we can get going. But
Sure.
yeah. Have you tried the new Claygen model yet? The like the neon one?
Yeah, we played around with it. Like 90% of the time, I like it way more. I had one case where I found like the 4.0 vision, the 4.0 model to be like a bit better
Yeah.
for us in that case. But like, I think like for most of the case, it's like really great. And I think also the flat price of two credits is oftentimes pretty cheap for the results it gets.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I'm really pumped mostly about the fact that it can scrape PDFs now, like
Yeah,
effectively. Because like I've had so many people reach out to me and be like, can you scrape 10Ks? And I'm like, we can, but it's like an API that's kind of closed. We have to pay extra money for it. But
yeah.
now it's like Clayton can do it. So I'm pretty fired up about that. Um, yeah. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool though. I Adam, the guy who like programs it, is just a wizard. It's like all he spends his time on, and I mean, it shows.
Yeah, I'm pretty I want to see what's under the hood, but I think they probably don't want to tell us.
Yeah, probably not. I have no idea. I have very little like coding abilities. I don't even know what he's really doing, but
Yeah, I actually came from a technical background, so I worked as a data scientist and have like a master's degree in machine learning, right? So I came from coding these models to now using low code or no code.
that's
But
crazy. And
it's
it really goes to show the power of the tool when somebody who can code uses it, though.
yeah,
You know, awesome. Well, yeah, I figured we could go ahead and get started. Appreciate everybody hopping on. I'm really excited about this one, as I was saying to Fabian kind of in the beginning of this call, because this is, I mean, at the end of the day, no two clay tables are the same. You know, they're like snowflakes, I guess, in that sense. But like, there are some tables that are like vastly different than others, and I feel like this is one of them. This is kind of like just a use case that I don't think a lot of people have really attempted or succeeded at. And so I'm really pumped to see it just because there's so many ways this could be applied usefully. If you guys don't know who Fabian is, he's one of our premier clay experts, incredibly good at building out clay tables, but like creative ones, not just ones that like get a job done in any sense. So anyway, I'm very pumped for this. I'll kind of hand it off to you because I'm ready to learn probably as much as the rest of you are. Of
perfect. Thanks for the intro and thanks for having me.
course.
So I think I'll just go ahead and share my screen and yeah, just hop right into it.
Awesome.
Let's see. Okay, so also my two co-founders are also on the call and they will like answer questions in the chat so I can focus on talking with you, Patrick, and like presenting. So feel free to chat ahead. They also know the workflow and can help you probably. All right, so this all started, or the whole topic of today is a bit like getting creative because I think most of us know nowadays everyone is going to Apollo and just filtering us on some industries, and those people get like bombed with emails. So we always try to think of some creative way to source leads. And this one we came up with as we do like consulting for a software. I'm not calling out the name, but from the from the call and the title of the of the table, you can probably guess it. And we've went ahead and scraped with Phantom Buster. This actually is this one right here. There's a Phantom to scrape Slack channel users because we knew like for some tools or some communities, there are probably like some really big Slack communities with a lot of members in, which is like a great relevancy or intent trigger to yeah, reach out to them on a personalized level. And so we went ahead and tried it out as Phantom. And basically, what you get, or what the data points you get with it are like you can scrape a certain channel. So you will get the channel name, the full name of the one that or the person that is signed up or is using Slack in this community, and you get the picture URL. And this is basically where we came up with the idea, or we because with the full name you can't really do much because there's probably a lot of Fabians or a lot of Patricks, and to find the right one by just googling it with Claygen or whatever is yeah, it's really tricky to like yeah to do this. So as we have the picture, as these are just some examples. Sorry if you're sorry if you are in here. We have like the the picture URL where it's hosted, and what we then came up with is like a Google Lens search, because some of you may know with like Google Lens or Google, you can actually put a, instead like a search string, you can input a picture as like a kind of Google search, and it will come up with like results or matches where it found like the same image or like a pretty similar one, right? So this usually you can use this if you see someone on a picture as having like a really nice suit or t-shirt you want to have, you can use this to find where you can buy it. But in this case, we constructed, and this is basically like a pretty simple formula URL where you just have like the base URL, which is like lens.google.com, upload by URL, and then you put like the URL as a parameter. So we construct this URL, and basically what this gives us is this Google search, and we will find information with people with the same profile picture as they have on Slack. And this was pretty much our hypothesis and all like the assumption, because I know for myself, I have one professional photo and I use it for LinkedIn, I use it for Slack and whatever. And yeah, this is pretty much the magic behind it. And basically how we do this on scale is then via the Epify actor. There's one right here. As you know, Epify integrates with Clay natively, so you can just run this Epify actor, and this has just one input you really need, and this is the image URL where we just constructed right before, right? So how this looks in the Clay table is that you just can basically you can copy from here. If you switch to JSON, you see basically the input you have, and you only need to swap out the URL in this array basically with the picture URL. Sorry. Can you mute them, Patrick? Oh, sorry. Okay. So then we switch out the URL and make the API call or the API actor run, and of course like with a conditional run to only run if we have like a picture URL, and then we get like a lot of results, right? So we have a lot of different links and results where they found like a similar image. So this can be like various LinkedIn sources or like some other domains where you find them. So we went one step ahead and used this enrichment right here to filter a list of objects. And we just checked, okay, does the title of this result contain their full name, right? So we know for the fact it's not something about like the suit they are wearing on the picture, but it's rather about the person itself, and it's like a personal link. And then we had like, when we did the research, we had like three main domains or domains or websites pop up. The first one is contact out, then it's the org. I actually don't know much about these, but those are probably also some databases about persons or founders or entrepreneurs or whatever. And we of course have LinkedIn, right? So we checked this, for example, with LinkedIn, where we checked, okay, the link contains LinkedIn. The other ones are corresponding with like some other website parts.
All right.
And yeah, basically the next step then is to just filter out on those LinkedIn profiles, are those personal LinkedIn profiles. And this is then done by the /in/ part, because you have like in for personal and company for company profiles. And we then have like a check where we say, okay, we found their LinkedIn profile just based on the image. That's right. You can just to double check again, we can click on or open a Google Lens search or open the image of this person. And then right here, we have their LinkedIn also with the same image, right? And that's like once we are there, then it's pretty basic Clay stuff, or then you it's like pretty basic. You can enrich the person to have like all the personal data points. You can of course then enrich, once you have the person enriched, can of course enrich the company as well. What we did in this case was we had like a GPT step because this was for ourselves, we wanted to like classify, are there in the marketing or lead generation space themselves. So we don't want to reach out to like a competitor, but just only to someone that's like, no competitor to us. And we also had like a lookup to like Clay creators, because like it's really, we don't want to take the shame to reach out to like Eric or whatever to other guy and offer them them lead generation, or you, Patrick. So so we had like a second table where we just imported all the Clay creators and Clay experts to have like a lookup. And those are basically like on two different variables. One is the display name. This one we have on from the Phantom Buster record. So we have one display name and one full name. So we check on both. And then maybe let's just jump to a different view where we found the LinkedIn and the emails. And actually quite funny. It's there are a lot of big companies in the Clay Slack community, like Apple and Microsoft. And then we just ran the email waterfall. We had like as personalization for this campaign, we had like their target customer titles. So we had like a copy. I'm gonna show you the copy we sent later on. And there we had like a snippet we wanted to fill in with like 3 target personas of their ICP. And yeah, we had like a check. We always when we have like AI steps, we include some formulas to check that there are no brackets included, or like we have the predefined structure. And then it's just, yeah, add them to Smart Lead, add them to our CRM, create the contact, create the company, and that's it.
Wow, that is pretty insane, honestly. I never thought to use the Google Lens API for a clay table, which I think is one of the more genius aspects of this because like as you mentioned, if you're in a Slack channel, half the people just have a first name. Like the
Yeah.
odds you're able to find their LinkedIn profile are so unbelievably low. And this pretty much just like makes Slack channels now become a lead source for, yeah, I mean, just for outbound. Like, and a lot of these Slack channels are massive and they just have your entire ICP like in it, you know, like
Yeah.
I'm sure people who are targeting like marketing agencies. I think marketing agencies would be a specific one where you just join a Slack channel with a bunch of marketing agency owners and you can just scrape them all and reach out to them. Like it's pretty insane, especially because I think a lot of those communities, which very fair that they set these rules, but like a lot of these communities don't want you reaching out to them on Slack. So
Yeah.
like it might not even be worth mentioning sometimes you're in the Slack channel or but instead just kind of using it as like a lead list source instead.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Maybe if we show, we can also show you the campaign and show you the copy we used, and we had like 2 versions, and you see like here we got like it's low volume, but it's like really high intent, so we got like really great results out of it in the end. But we didn't even mention we sourced them from Slack or whatever, right? We just had like a bit funny PS line where we say, PS, can you guess how we identified you as a Clay user? So even maybe some of you got this, and we got like some feedback where we said, okay, hey, did you scrape like LinkedIn company followers, or how did you do this, right? And we didn't really have much personalization on it, rather than like, yeah, we can help you find more, and then like the target buyer personas. But that's what we always preach or try to do, is like, yeah, relevancy over personalization. So it's like the lead list, or like the filtering, the qualification on the lead list part is so much more important than just some fancy personalization just for the sake of it.
yeah, I totally agree. I feel like personalization obviously is kind of, it's almost it's getting to the point where it's almost like a buzzword being thrown around to some extent. Like it is super important, don't get me wrong. Like I
Yeah.
think it's very valuable in a lot of cases, especially if you don't have a lead source like a Slack channel to draw from. And especially if you don't have a great offer. Like I was talking recently with somebody about how like if you have an amazing offer, you don't really need personalization because like the offer should kind of carry all the weight. But in short, I do think it is focused on more than it should be in some cases. And using an amazing lead source like a Slack channel is a great way to kind of negate the need for personalization, which I think is awesome. So,
Yeah.
somebody asked really quickly, I'll just answer one of the questions I was asked. What model are you using to guess the buyer persona of the company? For GPT, I'm assuming. Like what LLM are you using to guess it?
This one is GPT 4.0 or 3.5. Let me check. But also what we noticed, where is it? Is it actually it's auto, so I'm not quite sure which is using, but I think the
I
prompt
think,
works for both. But yeah, go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry.
I think auto is 3.5.
Yeah.
So yeah. But
But
it really depends on how specific you're looking to get. Like, I mean, it also depends on how much money you're willing to spend
yeah.
on GPT. Because like if you use GPT 4.0, I mean, the results are just vastly better, but obviously it's expensive. So
Yeah, for
Oh,
sure. We also recently tried out like today the first time Cohere, and it's also like really great results. So also, I mean, you can try different ones, right? We like
yeah.
to use Claude for like more the copywriting or creative part, and like Cohere is also good for research. But yeah, everyone has its favorite, and I think there are many ways to get to the target line or to the goal line with all LLMs.
Yeah, I've heard across the board from people that Anthropic seems to be like Claude seems to be much better for copywriting or anything like
Yeah.
creative. So, props to them for building that. Um, Somebody said last year a person emailed me offering to scrape Apollo. I asked how he got my email. He said scraped Smart Lead Slack members. Yeah, it's just such a again, it's just like such a great strategy. But mostly just to find relevance again. But like again, using Google Lens is just such a good idea, especially because like as I'm sure you said, like in the beginning of this, everyone seems to pretty much have one professional picture. I mean, A, because they
Yeah.
don't like taking more, and B, because they have some sort of personal brand that is in a way like maintained by that image. There's a reason big influencers don't ever change their profile pictures is because like there is some recognition there when you're scrolling through their stuff that like, oh, okay, this is the person that just posted.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. Like if you are like targeting the ones that are like active on LinkedIn or whatever, they probably have some they want to build a personal brand, and so they have one image they represent themselves with, right? So those are probably easier to find than maybe someone that's not that active on LinkedIn or in general online, or it's not trying to build a personal brand, right? And always
yeah.
those creative data sources or creative workflows always depend on what kind of client we are working with, right? So there are way yeah so many ways to get creative and source yeah untapped leads or like not leads that have been bombed with emails from everyone because they're so easy to find.
Yeah, for sure. No, I totally agree. And also, I'm sure this is a question at least I had. I'm sure some other people have it maybe as well. But like, what is the general accuracy in which it's able to find these LinkedIn profiles? Because of course, I mean, some people just have different profile pictures. Like sometimes it might not be able to pick it up. Like, were you able to get decent coverage, or like, what was the setup there?
Yeah, so from these 11,000 we have right here, we found like 500, which I think is quite good because yes, we could filter on how many we have even have a picture. I'm not quite sure because on a Slack community, probably a lot of people don't even have a have a profile picture.
Also
Uh,
true. Yeah, especially in a community as well. Like in a company, everybody has one, but like,
yeah, of course, but I'm not quite sure on how this works on Slack. But if you join a different community, you probably need, I think there's like a separate profile you need to set up, right? So you need to do the 5 minute steps and set up the profile picture and your description or whatever. So can even check. Okay, that's so half of it or 40% have has an image, and out of them we found 50% of the 500. So it's maybe 15% we found of them, but which
yeah.
is quite good, right? So there are some really large communities. Um, and yeah, I just saw we will share the template afterwards. No worries.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of people are saying that,
So
and
so so
yeah,
so
I totally agree. It's a valuable template, and it's just like you already have the API structure already set up, so yeah, definitely
yes.
works.
So everyone that doesn't want to get cold emailed needs to change their profile picture or take multiple professional ones.
Yeah, I'm about to have like an AI generated one for each one of my profiles, I guess. Also, somebody
Sorry.
commented something that I totally agree with, which is like this really is the only way to do it at scale. Like with regards to Slack, I just think and he literally said this exact thing already. I'm just kind of regurgitating it, but having a VA do this would take so long, and as you just showed, like there's 11,000 people, you got 500 results, so like a good like 80% of the work that they would be doing would probably yield pretty much the same results with no gain. So doing
Yeah.
this just A saves you an obscene amount of time if you want to run a campaign like this, and B kind of makes it even feasible to begin with. Um, Somebody's have done a similar thing with Strava communities. That's crazy. I need to start thinking of different lead sources like that. The
Yeah, because
Strava communities is crazy. I
once
guess I've
you
never.
have this starting data point of a profile picture enabled, you can get creative. And for example, like Alberto said, Strava communities, you can probably even go to Facebook and scrape Facebook communities because I know like even some industries there's still some quite active Facebook groups or whatever. So you can probably scrape them and based on the profile picture find if they have like LinkedIn or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, once you start, when you really, I think what Clay unlocks, if you could use it creatively, is the ability to start with less and less data and still end up kind of running a good campaign. Like I was doing a play table this morning that just, I mean, scraped literally just the names of every company in the S&P 500. And like you can very easily just go find their LinkedIn and then find their website using Clay and then just start running all the integrations that are required to actually run a good campaign. And so you've taken it even a step further where you don't even need a name necessarily. You just need a picture to get all the data you need eventually to start reaching out to people at scale, which I think is one of the main superpowers of the tool in itself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like even next step is maybe take some group pictures from some company pages or whatever, and like if when you go to like a Google Lens, let me just open the Google Lens. You can of course. I'm sorry, what is this? What do we have right? It's for the wrong views. Let me just show the column again. Because what I wanted to show on Google Lens, you can like select a part of the image you want to look at, right? So it usually takes the full picture, but you can also, if you have like maybe we find a different picture, you could just zoom in on if there are like multiple people on it, you can zoom in on them and just take their face and try to find it, right? But then it would take probably some AI or some other model to like place those boxes at the right at the right places to take everyone from the group picture.
Yeah, I was thinking about what kind of the future of like how little data can we start with is going to seem. And I think one of them is the fact that Google Lens is going to get to the point where it doesn't need an exact image to recognize it. Like it'll just be able to recognize somebody
Yeah.
based on a completely different picture. And kind of a similar thing with like right now, if you start with a just a person's full name. And if they have a pretty generic name, the odds of, you finding their LinkedIn are pretty low, like if your name's like Adam Smith or something and you live in the US, like the odds of us finding your LinkedIn are pretty low. But I think at some point there will be a way to like determine which Adam Smith you're looking to find based on a few characteristics. Like, okay, this Adam Smith probably works in marketing, probably based in the US, right? So and like, cause like, let's say you scrape a bunch of webinar attendees, like the example somebody just put in the chat, like if somebody has a really generic name or just a first name, you're gonna have to kind of make assumptions. And I think AI is gonna do a really good job of that as well.
Yeah, we've built some clay agent or some workflows. I'm not quite sure how the exactly workflow looked like, but where we also took like the industry as like an additional input for the clay agent to like classify if we find the right profile, right? So if you have like some generic name like Adam Smith, you could probably have all these LinkedIn profiles that pop up, put them into like with right to other table as like kind of list to another table, and then based on their experience, you could check is this one the right one or not. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You already kind of can do it. Like, just
yeah,
give all these LinkedIn profiles to Clay, enrich them all, throw that enriched data into an open AI prompt, and be like, tell me which one I should be reaching out to,
yeah,
based on this list. Like, um, but yeah, oh yeah, and as Peter mentioned in the chat, we have like a Clay University that will be uploading all these recordings to as well, so you can kind of like go back and watch them because the amount of messages I get bombarded with, can you send the recording? And it's totally my fault. But we don't have them in a consolidated place, but now we do. So go to Clay University if you want the recordings for any of these. But yeah, I fully, I just, I think, yeah, again, I think one of the main benefits of Clay is the fact that you can find so much with so little data. And and I feel like this use case in particular gives you so many other ideas as to what you can scrape now. Like, because reasonably you can, I mean, if you start with a picture or just a name, you can scrape things like even like let's say Facebook Marketplace listings if you wanted to reach out to
yeah,
people, or as somebody said, Discord communities. That's another great example. Or like pretty much anything that is somewhat de-anonymized, like you can probably start with and use it as a lead list now. And as Fabian mentioned, it really is just so much better for relevance than just using something like Apollo, and having to kind of like reverse enrich from there.
yeah.
So it's ridiculously powerful.
Also, as Frederick mentioned, also shout out to Frederick, like my co-founder. He built this with me, so don't want to take everything away from him. What we always talk about like Clay like this to our clients that we say like, yeah, when you all have these data points and possibilities in place, what you can actually do and scrape on scale, then you start to get creative because like users that don't really know Clay and what data points are available and what you can actually do, it's quite hard to get creative because you can't really imagine doing this at scale, right?
Yeah.
So
No,
once
I
you dig deeper and know, okay, this is possible, then you get creative and get new ideas. And this is what I love about Clay, or like it makes me so creative that I just think about ideas and then we get to a Clay table and get this done.
That's what I constantly tell people because I think now that Clay's being really hyped up on socials, shout out to Peter, who I know is on here for making it as such. But now that it's getting so hyped up, like people kind of just think it's like a magic wand that can immediately get you results. But the real power in Clay is like when you're creative with it and coming up with creative outbound ideas that you implement with Clay and scale. But in order to come out with those outbound ideas, you have to have some general idea of what Clay's functionality can do, like what the possibilities are. I mean, this is a great example. Like, if you weren't aware that you can reverse search images in Clay to find a person's LinkedIn profile, you would have never considered the fact that you could scrape a Slack channel, right? So,
Yeah.
that's really one of the benefits of working with experts like you as well, or me, self plug. But like, it's the fact that like the people on the Clay experts page know what is possible. And that in itself is kind of a superpower because then you can actually implement better Clay flows, um, which is so valuable.
Exactly. And sometimes it's also like about taking a look at the manual process and then just replicating this on scale and yeah, saving a lot of time.
Yeah, that's another thing. Every time I get on a call and like the prospect doesn't seem to be at like the stage in which we would want to engage with them, I always just tell them I would go run a normal cold email campaign, like just how you would have done it manually. And if you start seeing results, then it's time to go into Clay and scale it. Um, Somebody kind of asked, so how do we learn more about the art of the possible? My answer to that is unfortunately kind of a bad one, but it's just like you kind of have to just dig a lot in the tool. And so the first thing I would do is I'd go to the enrichment panel and I would just look at all of the possible data points that you can find with the enrichments available in Clay. And there's hundreds of them. I mean, you can find such a variety of things. I mean, some of the crazier ones would be like restaurants around where the person's located. You could do that with Yelp. You can find pretty much anybody's LinkedIn information, anything on their LinkedIn profile. There's a ton of stuff like that, right? Um, but once you kind of exhaust those data points, you can kind of think to yourself, well, like what other data points are available? The next thing I would go to would probably be Collegiate because Collegiate can scrape pretty much any publicly available data point about a person or a company. So if you're looking for more data there, then go to Collegiate. If for some reason you can't find it from there, I would kind of turn to external APIs. So just going and looking at all of the different APIs that are available. And a great example is the Google Lens that was created in this flow. You can then have a better idea of like, okay, I can do reverse lookups to find certain data in Clay if I want to using Google Lens. APIs are kind of like the third deepest layer of using
Yeah.
it. And it becomes more technical, but also far more powerful the deeper you go in those layers. So yeah, I would say you have to do a lot of digging. In short, it takes a lot of time on the tool, which is, of course, not something everybody has. But if you do have it, I would definitely recommend going into the tool, just seeing what sort of data points are available. And then from there, it's kind of just a matter of creativity. Like Fabian's obviously ridiculously creative with this flow. Like it's one thing to know that you can reverse look up images with Google Lens. It's another thing to apply that to a Slack channel and then reach out to the people in the Slack channel with your offering, right? So um, there's definitely a lot of abstraction that can be done with Clay's possibilities. And sorry, I kind of just rambled for a while. So Fabian, let me know your thoughts on that as well. But those are
Yeah.
my general thoughts.
Yeah, I agree with you on this fully, right? So also as Raika answered, like of course, like there's a lot of content nowadays with like Clay experts like us on LinkedIn. When you watch this content, you will like get a feeling of what's possible and see like some example workflows. Watch the YouTube of Clay University, watch those recordings, and then yeah, just get to it and play around. And if you have like always try to think without boundaries, and then just Google if there's an API for it. So I always think, okay, we want this data point. I check is it native integrated into Clay, perfect, and let's do it this way. If it's not, I just Google the use case with an API behind it, and often there are some APIs for it, right? We've recently built some Clay tables for a client of us, which looks at like Google Hotel or Google Traveling, and like compares prices for like different seasonalities, so they can like even see if the demand is increasing or like if like booking.com has the best price for them, or we even personalize based on some weather API. So some messages where you say, I see tomorrow it's pretty sunny in California or whatever.
That's so awesome. I love that one, honestly. Like a weather-based personalization, because I feel like everyone's kind of exhausted the whole like I saw you're based in this location. Have you ever been to this restaurant? Like I feel like that happens all the like I've seen that so many times, but no, I don't really see people doing like weather-based ones. The only problem with that is you have to make sure you send it really quickly.
Yeah.
Because it changes a lot. But yeah, I totally agree with the first point that you make as well, which is like go watch content about clay. There are a ton of places in which you can find it. Clay University is one of them. Peter already kind of sent the link to that one. It's just clay.com/university. The YouTube channel, which is like a half self plug because I make most of the videos, but there's some decent ones on there. I would also just go follow a lot of like the clay experts that are on the page, like the experts page. They are constantly posting content with regards to new clay updates, things that are going on. There's a few different newsletters I know that are circulating around through them as well. So um, I think I mean and I know for the fact the clay team is just working on trying to like kind of centralize all of this educational stuff, but the tool changes so quickly and the possibilities are so vast that it's difficult obviously to aggregate all of that educational data. So but there's obviously just there's so much that can be done. And then clay experts is just clay.com/experts to whoever asked that. But yeah, I'd figure I'd open we just open up to a few questions if anybody has them. Obviously I think there's a lot to,
Yeah,
there's
also
lots.
I see the question from Mark, like this is more like for the cutting edge industries, like how could this be applied for more traditional industries? So probably you can't probably do the one-to-one. What you could do is probably if you go on their website and they have like about their team some profile pictures, this would be like the case. You can of course like with GPT vision, right? Or with screenshot APIs, you can like replicate this a bit. And you can of course like just get creative in other ways. For traditional industries, what we've done for clients is, for example, a lot of scraping of some kind of directories or whatever, right? So there are often in traditional industries, there are some kind of directories for like all the oil and gas stations listed or built in US, right? And then you can go with the Clay Chrome extension or like with some other integrations and just scrape like basically the whole total addressable market in one go and work from there, right? So I think like scraping in general is like such a powerful tool because in every niche and in every industry and every country, there will be some directories or lists where you can scrape a lot of really powerful clients or prospects to reach out to.
Yeah, I totally agree. We have somebody on our team who's like almost their entire job is dedicated to scraping things.
Yeah.
Like that's how important it is because like at the end of the day, Apollo and LinkedIn Sales Nav are really helpful, but there are a lot of industries and a lot of our clients work in these industries where not everybody might be on those platforms. Like if you're reaching out to local leads, like let's say HVAC companies, for example, they're probably not going to be on LinkedIn, like a lot of those companies. So being able to scrape directories is super important. Um, it's like kind of one of the main keys to running effective campaigns for a lot of industries that aren't like in tech.
Yeah, and for them as well, it's like I think like Google Maps is also like so powerful with like Clay integration or either with Apify or the native integration. Like Google Maps is for the local ones or the ones that are not that present on LinkedIn or online presence. Then I would probably as a first step always go to Google Maps to get information for them.
Yeah, and Clay is an awesome Google Maps integration. It just
Yeah,
like imports pretty much all the businesses within a certain radius that match a given criteria. And it's just gotten better and better. So
yeah,
it's very exciting. Yeah, I mean, yeah, really, I think like the main draw for Clay in general is the fact that there's just it can kind of like wrangle a lot of data into one centralized place and you can do a lot with it. Beforehand, like I'm sure anybody who like operated in go-to-market pre-Clay kind of knows what you had to do in order to get all that data aggregated into one area. Like if you were super technical, you could get a bunch of APIs and connect them to like an Excel sheet. And if you weren't super technical, it was kind of just a matter of using a bunch of different data providers and like copy pasting all of it into one sheet and then running an outbound campaign on that. But Clay just makes it, in my opinion, vastly easier. And of course, I'm biased, but
yeah.
So Brandon said, I can't grab more than 200 Google Maps listings at once. How do I get around this? Yeah, it's very annoying. Well,
I
I
think
know Clay has that throttle. I would also make sure to see if the Google Maps API has that throttle.
Clay, I think Clay has upped the throttle though. I can just quickly show as I'm just
Is there
sharing
like
as
a
well.
1,000 with Clay now?
Yeah, you can. I think you can do 1,000, right? You can switch this on, and then you can go up to 1,000, I think.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
then
that's
it costs like a credit per result. I'm not sure. I think the 200 are for free. But
but
if you
it's
want more,
so much better. Like it's worth the
yeah,
credits if that's your lead source.
yeah, for sure.
Um, for sure. How often do you start from thinking of creative ways to use Clay and then figuring out how to make it useful versus starting with the outcome you need, then figuring out how to do it in Clay? It's always the latter for me, pretty much every time. Like I think of what is the best possible outbound campaign I can run
Yeah,
for a given client or a given industry, and then I figure out how do I do it in Clay. Because frankly, the more you use Clay, the more you realize pretty much anything's possible with it as long as the data is findable somewhere. So um, I I would recommend if you're ever using Clay for a specific use case, think to yourself, what is the best possible copy I could write in this given situation? What data is required to support that copy? And then how do I find that data in Clay? Um,
yeah.
Not the other way. The
We
other way is
always are.
fine for learning about it.
I would also always start with like we always start with writing the copy, or we write like this would be like the dream copy for that client or for ourselves in the campaign, and then you of course can identify okay those are the ones or the data points we need to find to like filter and qualify the prospects and also to personalize the message maybe, and then you just hop into Claire. So always start by figuring out your dream campaign, and then there's probably a way to do this in Clay on scale.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the nice thing about like knowing or having used Clay for a long enough time is yeah, you're kind of just like I can do anything with this tool, like, pretty much. Like if I can think of a cool way to like reference specific data in a campaign and have it tied to my value prop and then kind of end it with a great offer, then it's probably possible to do. Um, and an example of, I mean, there's a billion examples of that, but like you can pretty much, I mean, now you can scrape a company's 10K, you can scrape pretty much anything on their website and reference it in an email. Like so the really the real challenge now for getting results with Clay, once you understand how to use it, is just what is the best outbound strategy for me when I'm reaching out to people, not really like, is it possible? Which is great because it's more of a
Yeah.
creative endeavor than a technical one. Somebody asked, is there a way to scrape G2 ratings of different companies at once? I'm pretty sure there's an Appify scraper for this, right?
I think so too. Also, Niklas answer. I think we've done something with the instant data scraper extension, which is also pretty good. And then once you have like the starting point, have like the links for the detailed page, you then go to Claygen and just send it to detailed page of the G2 app or like service, and then so just scrape from there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I would also just recommend like when I say you can scrape, this isn't even really related to the G2 question, but kind of just like it made me think. But when you get on somebody's website, you can actually scrape anything now with Claygen. Like you can scrape images, and you might not be able to output the images necessarily, but you can get the image URL and then use that to embed into an email. We had a case a little while ago with one of our bigger clients who they wanted to find every brand a specific creative director would work with
Mhm.
via their portfolio website. Sometimes if you go on a portfolio website, they don't even have any names of the brands, just the logos. And you can scrape like the image URL or like the uh pretty much like the HTML underlying the logo itself and figure out like what image it is, right? So like
Yeah.
you can even go to a company's website and you know how pretty much every company has a list of companies they've worked with if they're B2B. You could go scrape those B2B companies, figure out what the underlying HTML of the logo is and scrape that. So really like open your mind to the possibilities and there's probably a way to do it in Clay.
Yeah,
Um,
of course. I always like the that's also why I love this workflow so much. I like the part of the putting vision on scale, right? So it's not about text-based analysis on scale or like some text-based variables we use in the workflow, but it's just based on what you can see or like some images or vision, right? So some logos, is it a profile picture? And I think like this opens up like an extra layer of automations or sources you can use. As you said, for example, the client logos they work with or brands that trust us and whatever, you can just either go on the HTML part, see if they have like a file name or like a name right there. But other than that, you can also probably just screenshot this or with GPT for Vision go on it, and they have enough knowledge to probably, if it's like a big brand, to recognize it.
yeah, for sure. No, like exactly, exactly. Somebody asked, and I guess we can both answer this question because we both run agencies, but from an agency perspective, how do you price your services? I mean, so our prices obviously vary, but the way in which we decide the pricing is usually depending on the complexity of the workflows we think we'll be building out. So we operate on a retainer basis. So like we do one-time setups occasionally, but for the most part, our clients are like they stick with us because we're more or like they're like a month by month client because we do all the strategy as well. So like we're not just building out one clay table, we're coming up with clay table ideas and building them for you. So in short, our retainer is usually contingent on how difficult those flows are going to be and generally just how much work we think is going to be required. And that's usually based on the stage of outbound you're in.
Yeah.
Like if a company reaches out to us and they're like, we already have copy that's working super well at a low scale. We just need you to scale it up and then maybe apply it to a few different lead lists like RB2B or LinkedIn engagement. Then like that's really easy. But if a company approaches us and they're like, our outbound isn't working at all, we don't have any infrastructure, we have no idea what we're doing, then obviously it's more. So usually it's based on that. And I'm interested to hear yours as well, obviously, Fabian. That's
Yeah.
we're
So,
always
so
trying to
yeah.
figure ours out.
So yeah, we also had like the first few months are like we are pretty young as an agency, like over half a year, so 7 months or whatever now. But and we tried a few different pricing models, but for us, what's worked best is we have like two options. The one is like done with you because we nowadays have a lot of clients that want to internalize and learn Clay themselves. So this is more like a consulting retainer we have where we like based on like how much commitment you want from us, like do you want workshops? Is it just do you want coaching? Do you just want us to build the stuff? Then it's just based on like a volume of hours you can book for the retainer. And the other one is like basically like a done for you. And then of course, like as you said, it depends on what kind of state you're in, what kind of volume you want to do if we want to cover the tool cost and yeah.
Yeah, awesome. This is kind of a follow-up question that somebody asked, but on pricing, how do you approach low TAM? So the only we qualify our companies pretty heavily to like ensure that they're a company we actually, can maybe not ensure, but we highly think we can succeed with. And one of those main qualifications that we use is TAM. So like if you have a low TAM, it's fine, but only if your offer is like super high average order value. Like one of our biggest clients right now, we're reaching out to literally 300 companies. They're all massive companies, but if they sell to one of them, it's $1 million. So like, you know, like we'll do it, but we're gonna be writing the most hyper personalized, hyper relevant copy to those 300 companies we possibly can, and we're gonna try to reach out to as many decision makers within those companies as we can. So it really just depends on A, your TAM, but B, also your average order value. Like if you have 300 companies and you're selling them a $10 a month SaaS, we never, like it doesn't make sense. Like you're never gonna get a return. So we have to, yeah, we always just work based on that.
Yeah, and of course, what you can also do with like a lower TAM is, of course, like go more like a nurturing process and combine this with maybe like some content and then like those intent trigger workflows, right? Where, as you said, like LinkedIn engagement, RB2B, like set those up and maybe just have some, if you have someone in your agency as well that can help with content or generating traffic on your LinkedIn profiles or your website, then you can combine this kind of into like a more nurturing process. But yeah, we also qualify pretty hard for our clients that they have like either like a pretty good TAM or like as you said, like a really great offer with like also high ticket prices.
Yeah, yeah. And then another follow-up question from somebody. So in this case is when it's a super high ticket, why don't you take a success percentage on the back end? The main reason for us is that some of our clients have already pretty much formulated their outbound strategy themselves. We're essentially just scaling it. Not always, like we usually like to work with companies we work on with strategy as well. But oftentimes it just doesn't make sense to take a percentage if we're not the ones actually coming up with the overall strategy. Additionally, a lot harder to sign actual enterprise, like large size clients in that case. And the third one is that like if we do succeed for our clients, which we obviously aim to do and generally tend to do because we qualify them so heavily, um, it's just way better for us because like it's just a no-brainer for them to stick with us. We have
Yeah.
consistent income, and they're gonna probably give us an insane referral if
Yeah.
they're making like 100x on their investment with us. So I really I'll take the missed out money in that case.
Yeah, because it's always like the client will be super happy if with like one close client they can pay you for like a year or whatever, right? So
Yeah, it's just
and
like
then
okay, you're good. Like
yeah.
the $1 million, like their $1 million contract value. It's just like they're like we literally need two positive responses a month for this to be feasible. And within 3 days, I got them two positive responses for that campaign, and I'm like,
Yeah.
awesome, there we go. Like
There we go. I'm on vacation now. Catch me next month.
it's just like that makes things a lot I don't know, a lot more straightforward, which I prefer. So
Yeah.
it's more of an agency question, but yeah. Have you ever ran any campaigns against investors for fundraising? I've heard of people that have. We don't really have any clients that do so because obviously, like if you need to do campaigns to investors for fundraising, you're probably very early stage, and we're like a relatively expensive clay agency. So like anybody who's trying to raise like Series E funding does not need us to reach out to investors. Like they're already there. They know the investors pretty well. So no, I haven't. Have you, Fabian?
No, we don't, but maybe to take this as like a different starting point for a different topic is also like there are so many other use cases than just outbound for clay. Because what I also thought about like the brother of my sister of my girlfriend is actually looking for a new job, and I thought like I can do this in clay and help you to just what job do you want? I can source them and I can write
Yeah.
you personalized message for you to reach out to as like a job yeah subscript job how do you call it application, right?
Yeah.
So yes, and like this is just one example where you can use clay and yeah, many other use cases. So
No, the job one is such a good example that I feel like people like if you don't even use clay in your current job, but you want to get another job down the line, I'm telling you, like just learn clay because I made a YouTube
yeah,
video on this on how to like do that. And then I also have one of our clients is like they're pretty much a recruiting firm that does placing for jobs. And so we created this flow that automatically imported jobs and wrote these personalizations and like reached out to the people hiring and it crushes it. We get like 2 to 3 positive responses a day from it and it's very low volume. So like seriously, give it a go. But yeah, that's a great example actually. Like the job openings is such a good one. Clay ideas for local digital marketing agency. We've actually done one of our clients was a really big local digital marketing agency. And um, the way we did it, because it was like, well, actually, no, they were a local physical marketing agency, but we pretty much just found all of the companies via Google Maps. Then we found all the emails associated with those companies by scraping like their website and Facebook via Collegent. And then we created like this custom image that would show them what their like ad would look like on one of their like pretty much ad, let's say it wasn't like a billboard, but it was like a mini billboard. And so we found their ads on Facebook Marketplace and then created like a custom image to show
yeah.
them what their ad would have looked like on a physical thing, pretty much. So
I like
yeah,
this one, like those dynamic pictures. We also have like some memes, like dynamic memes that are created or pictures. I think those are also pretty powerful as well. And also for like local digital marketing, what I also take a look at is like of course the Google Maps reviews. And then what you can also do is with ChatGPT or for example like an AI model, you can come up with if it's like for SEO targeting, you could come up with like keywords to search for and then have like an Epify actor that runs this SEO keyword and checks if their domain is in the first page. So you can see and reach out and say, "Hey, Patrick, saw your company isn't listing on Google's first page for the keyword XYZ, and this should be like your main keyword, right? Should we help you with SEO to get you on the first page?" So
yeah, yeah,
they're
that's
like
another great one. Yeah,
they're really cool ideas.
for sure. Um, Generally across your campaigns, which are the main enrichments that you use, which are paid for only with Clay credits? Really just depends on how often you're using them, like, and also how big your list is. Like, if you have a list of 10,000 people, I would probably try to get APIs for everything.
Yeah,
But there are some cases where, like, I think Collegent, you probably actually you might be able to connect your API key for Collegent Neon, but you might need to use credits. But honestly, for me, it's a convenience thing. Like sometimes I'm just like, this is a list of 100 people. I don't really feel like finding the APIs for all these email providers. I'm just gonna like go use Clay credits instead. Um,
yeah.
but either the ones that don't allow me to connect an API to them or the ones where I'm just like, I don't really feel like adding them. But for like email verification and OpenAI, you should always add APIs credits or API keys. Sorry.
Yeah, for sure.
Fabian, do you have any?
Yeah, I also agree. Like the two main ones where we all say, okay, you get a few own planes on your case is like email and like OpenAI. So those are the ones where we always tell don't spend clay credits on this ones, but the other ones, yeah, usually they're
Yeah,
they're quite good priced, so you can use them on this. Um,
yeah, for sure.
Also, what I'm really looking forward to, I saw a few leaks on like the Slack or I hope will be coming, is like some custom waterfalls, right? Because then you don't always have to do because the API calls and so on to set this up. If it's like a waterfall with like multiple columns right after each other, then it's quite a lot of work to set this up, right? So I'm hoping this will come sometime in the future.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, awesome. The new Collision, it's sometimes cheaper to scrape websites. Yeah. Do you mind explain how it works? Set up a table or workflow where it screens every single day for specific job postings. In short, it's probably something we probably can't go to in the last 10 minutes of this, but you'd want to set up an Appify import. So Clay has a thing where you can set up an actor in Appify and then import all of the data that comes through that actor daily. So you would pretty much just find a job scraper on Appify, put in the information you want for specific job postings, and then it'll auto import into a Clay table.
Yeah, I think like
You have any other ways?
the starting points you want to take a look at if you want to have something like automatically like updated is like you can do something with your CRM. Your CRM connects and updates. I think HubSpot every 24 hours or so. Apify connect updates or things every 24 hours. And other than that, you need to work with webhooks. That you like have some kind of setup on like make.com or N8N or whatever that pushes data to a webhook and then you can schedule it there. Or like the new signal feature, like the job change, right? So those are the ones that, yeah, work automatically and you don't really have to import something.
Yeah, for sure. Um, have you ever fed the personalized messaging created by Clay into a dialer for the script instead of using it for email? Fabian, have you? I haven't actually.
Uh, we actually played around with like an AI calling tool, and it was quite okay or quite good. So I think they get better, but my opinion or our opinion is pretty much that those AI voice and AI calling are not quite there yet, I think. I think there are like really few use cases where you can use them if it's like really a good predefined script. Or for example, one case I think where this would make sense is if you're like a recruiting and staffing agency or company, and you want to qualify your candidates, right? The candidates are looking for a job, so if they don't bear with going through the AI call, then you just don't get them a job, right? So if they're reaching out to you and they want a new job, then and they're not fine with doing like a 5 minute AI call to get qualified, then yeah, they need to
Yeah.
do the job search themselves, right? But it's hard to do like if you want to do outbound and yeah, get something from the other side, then I think they are not quite that good yet.
Yeah, I fully agree. It's gonna get there at some
Yeah,
point,
for
just not
sure.
there yet. Like I'm kind of the same way with completely AI generated videos as well. Like I'm just like, I don't think it's there yet. Like partially for sure, like where you
Yeah.
put certain like maybe like the first name is AI generated, but um yeah, I totally agree. It's just not there yet.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think for like SenseSpark and the other integrations, right, for the dynamic videos you can create combined with Clay, those first name with AI, this sounds pretty good, or this is fine, right? But I would not do like a full sequence
yeah,
yet.
for sure. What are some ways you use filters, new tables, or pivot tables for or something Clay specific to manage handling growing tables to the point where they become overwhelming? The only time in which I would need to like use pivot tables or tables that like may are overwhelming, or it's just when we hit the limit for rows. Like if we hit 50,000 rows, we'll have to move to something else. But we usually will just we'll create different views in Clay. So you can create different views based on certain filters. Like if you saw what Fabian was building out, he had a specific view for the people he was actually reaching out to out of those 10,000 people. So he was able to kind of just like organize the list that he created. But other than that, I don't really have anything too crazy on that one. Um,
Yeah, or what I always like to do is like have a separate one for like company and for the persons, so you can do some company level enrichment always just on the company, and then have this like transferred over to the people table, so you don't overspend. If you have like five people at the same company, you don't need to run this enrichment 5 times if it's just on a company level, right? So I always like to split those up.
yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I figured we could, we're pretty much at time. We're getting there, so I figured we could, yeah, call it if anybody has any other questions. Feel free to shoot them now. But this was ridiculously helpful and educational to me at the very least. Please send the template out, Fabian. I'd love to see
Yeah,
it. It was
for sure.
awesome.
I will send you on Slack.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. And Brian, I think Frederick answered your question. But all righty, cool. Appreciate it, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Shout out to Peter and my team, to Frederick and Niklas.
Yeah,
And
for
yeah,
sure. Yeah, I appreciate everybody for hopping on. Have a good one, guys.
see ya.
Bye.
Bye bye.